France 24's Doug Herbert is with me now to talk a bit more about the speech that Emmanuel Macron just gave earlier today. This was a very emotional speech, not just for the president, but obviously for so many people who were there in the room as well today.
Yeah, and a speech similar to ones that his predecessors have all given, reaching back to Jacques Chirac, who in 2001 recognized the French state's abandonment, if you will, of the Harkis. That is, when the war ended in March 1962, tens of thousands of Harkis essentially left to fend for themselves at the hands of Algerian nationalists, in many cases, who tortured them or, worse, massacred them. And here in France, the ones who did manage to get here, often being interned in camps, as one of the daughters of one of the Harkis testified here today, basically said that she was brought up, reborn in a camp in southwest France, surrounded by barbed wire. And so speaking in extremely emotive terms about an episode that continues to this day to traumatize, stigmatize, and make a lot of Harkis feel like they're essentially ostracized from a lot of society. And many of them can't go back to Algeria because they're still seen as traitors, those who betrayed their national cause. So caught in a sort of no man's land, at least until now. What Macron was trying to do today is, yes, try to show the compassion, trying to essentially say, I hear your message. I feel what you have gone through, your suffering. Your history is France's history. What we're doing today, it's not simply a meeting. I'm not here meeting with you. This is a meeting with the truth. This is a meeting with France. This is a meeting with a part of who we are. An insult to the Harkis is an insult to France. That's what he said to the Harkis. Now, he had a lot of pushback at some point. Some people very vocally, very emotionally in the audience, pushing back at Macron, perhaps thinking he's not saying enough, not personally delivering what they wanted to hear, the words that they wanted to address their personal trauma. And you got a sense of how difficult this issue is. The Harkis have been traditionally embraced by a lot of people on the right of France, a lot of people, in the Algerian war who were very much firmly for the French cause. Macron has had a reputation of being more sort of pro-Algerian. Several years ago, he spoke of the entire period of colonialization as being a crime against humanity. And for that, he got a lot of blowback, and he ended up having to sort of partially retract those words to sort of appease a lot of the fury, especially on the right, against a president who was seen as shrinking from a chapter of France's history. But today he was trying to balance, and he was doing what Macron, he really loves to get down and scrappy and get down in the dirt, so to speak, and engage in these fights. He doesn't shrink from them. We saw it during the Yellow Vest protests and movement there when he went on this, some would say, a masochistic, multi-month tour of France, going to these town hall meetings, sitting for hours, listening to a lot of the Yellow Vests and the local populations yell at him, shout at him, tell them what they think of him, and sort of listening, trying to take it, and then trying to somehow argue back with them, trying to, if not rationally, at least to have some sort of engagement, a dialogue with them. And we saw a little bit of that today. What he was essentially saying is, listen, I'm not denying how much you've all suffered. I'm not denying the pain that you have gone through and continue to go through, and it's generational, passed down from your parents to you right now who hold the flag for them. However, you also have to do the hard work. It's incumbent on you of reconciliation. I, as president, he basically said, I accept that there are a multitude of narratives around a very complicated episode in our history, the Algerian War. There's not just one. As traumatic as your experience is, other people have a different experience, and they too deserve to be heard. And you all need to listen to each other. He said, we're not going to get any further by one person yelling above another to be heard. The best way to move forward and to get your history heard, your stories heard, is to also listen to one another and to accept that reconciliation, that multiplicity of narratives. It's a really difficult sell. It takes a lot of patience. You could say it takes a lot of courage to do it. And a lot of cynics will say Emmanuel Macron was looking for a little more today than to fish for votes among a constituency of about 800,000, if you include the descendants, on the right and on the far right of France, a constituency whose votes he'll need next year in the presidential elections. But I got the sense from watching Emmanuel Macron today, he was at the same time trying to sort of rise above that purely cynical political calculation and make the case to the Harkis gathered. I feel your pain, but you also need to understand others have pain too. Others who might have had very different experiences than yourselves. You need to reconcile. You need to listen to them. You need to learn how to engage in dialogue with them.
Thanks, Doug, for that.